It's Madeline Dale here with the Chapter Goddess, and this morning I have another fantastic author for you. She is amazing, and she is dressed to the nines to represent her books, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to let her introduce herself and give you some background and also tell us about her books. So take it away.
Hi, my name is Tahani Nelson, and I'm the author of the Fai'i Chronicles, a female-led military fantasy series. So if you like women leading armies and wearing armor that actually covers all their body parts, I'm your girl.
Yes, absolutely love that. I hate that, like in all the games and stuff and books, they're like, oh, here, let's make them scantily clad. So they're like showing everything. So, where did you get the idea for these books?
I've always loved fantasy for as long as I can remember. I've loved fantasy, but young me really had trouble finding awesome, amazing, empowering women in classic fantasy books. There's a lot of damsels in distress. There's a lot of love interests. Even when you do find a really strong, amazing character and you're like, yes, I could be her. I could follow her through this entire book. It always felt like halfway through the book, she'd meet a dude and that was it. Like that was her entire thing. Or sometimes she'd meet two guys and that became her problem is, oh my gosh, how do I choose? And I was just done with it. I was so over triangles, love triangles by the time I was 14. So I started writing all the characters that I looked for and couldn't find. And then it turned out I wasn't the only one looking for them. So I've got these matriarchal societies and these amazing women who have ambitions beyond marriage. And marriage is a fine ambition. I just feel like we could offer more to the next generation of young girls.
I love that because I am totally like with the strong female thing. My books all have strong female characters, not exactly like yours because I lean towards the romance reverse harem, but she's like my girls are always the ones that are going to take over and lead and everything. And I love that. And I love that there are more authors putting characters like that out there these days.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it, at least in the past, as it's been very difficult to publish these type of characters because it had never been done before. And they're like, well, that won't sell because it's never sold before. But the reason it never sold before is we never got the chance. So I'm really glad that the industry is evolving and changing and we're able to see more characters than what we did in the past, or at least what our parents got.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. And I feel like girls have more options now than like they did when we were kids. So,
Absolutely.
and so where did you get the idea for the specific armor that you wear to market your books?
So in the books themselves, they actually all wear metal breastplates. I cannot wear metal breastplates outside for however long all of my events go. I usually do Renaissance festivals, which are in the middle of summer, and they're outside and super, super hot. And carrying books is often hard enough, and it's even more difficult in full armor. So I went with a leather breastplate because it's easy to pack, it's easy to move in, and it still catches your eye from across a convention center. If somebody likes fantasy and they see somebody in armor across the room, they're going to come say hi to that person. And even if you never read my books, you're going to remember you saw me today. So
Yes, that is true. I love it. I love how much you put into your books and marketing. So tell me about your favorite character that you've written about in your books.
that's really, that's such a hard question because I love them all. I love Kaya in book one because she's fun. She was raised in a very, very secular religion. She's part of a monastery and she's like, this is the world and this is how it works. And then she has to step outside of her monastery for the first time and see what the world is really like and then be like, I have to make this better. And I love that. I love being able to explore the options of growth outside of the mindset you've been raised in. I love Alana in the second book because her entire ambition is I'm going to save my little brother from the pyre. I'm going to make sure he has a future I didn't get. And I like Erin in the third book because she is the only one that's truly unsure of herself in the beginning. She has no idea who she is or who she wants to be, and she gets to find that. So I like all three of my main characters, and I like how they interact with each other over the course of the books as well.
Nice. So did you have to do a lot of research for your world building in these novels?
I feel like I didn't have to. I feel like I wanted to, and then just built a book around all that research that I've already been doing my entire life. I've always loved like the Amazon myths from Greek mythology. I love the Valkyrie myths from Norse mythology. There's so many different societies that we have in our myths and legends of strong females being amazing and wearing armor and scaring the heck out of everybody that's around them. And I love that. So I did all this research long before I started writing a book. And I think I took parts and pieces. I do a lot of research for ancient military tactics because it is a sword and sorcery book or series with the emphasis on sword. I once learned how to build and calibrate and use siege weaponry like catapults, and then I deleted that entire scene anyway. So there's been a lot of research that didn't actually make it into it, but I've loved every minute of it.
That's awesome. Like it just blows me away because that there really is a ton of research authors do, and not all of it goes into it. And honestly, I feel like readers don't realize how much that it goes into it. But we have all of these creative ideas like create this masterpiece, and it's beautiful.
And you do have to really focus on making sure you get some parts right. There's a part in the first book where she forges her own sword, and I really researched that. I already had the basics down and I knew what to do, but I really looked into it because eventually there's going to be somebody that reads that, and if I got that wrong, I would not live that down. So
Yeah, gosh. So, do you have a writing routine that you follow when you create your novels?
I do, and it's not really what most people expect. I know that most people, especially if you follow other authors online, it feels like everybody writes like 2,000 words a night or 3,000 words a night, and there's these huge numbers. And I always wanted to be that writer. I was always like, yeah, that's how you become a famous author, or that's how you become a successful author, is you write all these words. And then I'd get home from work and I'm like, well, I'm not going to write 2,000 words tonight, so I'm not going to write it all. And I just wouldn't write anything for months at a time. So now I write 200 words a night. And it's this tiny, very easily to hit goal. And I do it every single night. And a lot of times that's all it takes. It opens up the dam and I'll write chapters and pages, and it's amazing. Sometimes I only write the 200, but I always write something. And that's gotten me through all 4 books. So little goals.
That is good. Yes, little goals are awesome. Have you ever had the challenge of facing writer's block?
Yes, I think everybody's faced writer's block to some extent, and I think that the little goals help break that down. I don't think that we face writer's block because we don't have ideas. I think that writer's block in some way is based in fear. We're afraid that the scene won't work, or we're afraid that the book that we're aiming for is too big, or we're looking at something that's just too much. So break it down into little tiny goals, and usually you can work your way through it. So maybe you can't get that entire book done tonight, but I bet you could get a sentence. Break it down.
Yes. Also, with being an author, and as a lot of things I've been focusing on with different people I talk to is self care. Do you have any specific self care routines that you follow to help you stay focused and keep your creativity flowing?
I do try really hard to just let myself do nothing for a little bit every day. We live in such a world where you constantly have to be working. We don't even constantly have to be working. We have to be multitasking all the time. If we're not doing something that you can potentially make money from or that you consider productive, there's like a lot of guilt based around that. So I give myself permission to do nothing. And I like it. A lot of people call it meditation, which is also very helpful, but even calling it meditation, it felt like I was still making myself do something. So every day I give myself a deal, I allow myself to do nothing at all. And it's nice. It reminds me that it's okay to rest.
I agree. We do live in a society that does not know how to rest, and I am guilty as much as anybody
We all are.
about
It's just
slowing
what's been
down.
ingrained.
Yes, it is. You're like you feel the guilt just settles in when you're sitting still, like not doing nothing, anything. You're just like, oh, I need to be doing this. Oh, I should go clean this, or like anything. Just being
Yeah.
productive all the time. But yes, you're right. Doing nothing is especially for creatives. Like you need that pause.
Hmm. So
So, curious question: how long does it take to put your armor and makeup on?
Okay, so I can't actually put this breastplate on by myself. My husband has to help me. And I have the most supportive husband in the world because anytime I have an interview or a podcast or an event, he's right there and he's willing to help me onto it. It only takes about 4 minutes to put the entire breastplate on with the
Mhm.
all of it. The makeup, since it's a little bit slapdash. Takes about 8 or 10 minutes. And I enjoy it. I love it. This is actually one of my favorite things to do. I love slapping on the armor and meeting new people and putting together this persona that's come from these books. A lot of people think that I base my 5e warriors off of myself, but really I've based all of this off of them. So I'm really glad that these books have given me such a chance to grow and learn.
That is fascinating. I love it. And just the armor itself, like that is my favorite thing. You're definitely making memories. Like it's memorable. I love it.
I love it too. So anybody out there that reads or writes, I'm sorry, that writes fantasy, invest in armor. Even if like it doesn't really help with your book sales, which it will, it's one of the greatest things you can ever do. Like everybody should own a sword and at least one breastplate.
Yes. I need to get a sword. I've been trying to talk my husband into letting me have one, but with having a young son, I'm like, yeah, maybe we need to wait on that. Because
make sure it has a really good sheath.
Yes, it would have to stay up on the walls, like way up on the wall, because he's gonna be a tall kid, and I'm just like, yeah, one day you're gonna throw me across the room, and I'm gonna be like, okay, stop.
My husband actually, he got a sword for me for our wedding because we jumped over the sword as part of our hand fasting ceremony.
Yes!
So that is the new standard for courting. Everybody out there, sword is your new courting standard. Roses were last year.
Oh yeah, dude. I've never I will take roses, but my husband, I've always told him, like, don't get me roses, get me something different. Like it's just too played out. But I love that idea, the whole hand fasting, jumping over the sword. What is something, do you like to snack or have a specific drink you sip on when you write?
I love chai tea.
Yes.
I love chai tea with just a hint of vanilla. It's my favorite.
Yes, vanilla chai tea.
And it's actually, I've been drinking vanilla chai tea for so long while I write now that just the smell of it puts me in the writing mood. So it's one of those things that if you do it every single day, eventually you'll sit down in front of wherever you write and you're ready to go.
Yes, I found myself leaning more towards tea and like especially chai tea lately than coffee. I just can't, I don't know if I've just worn myself out on coffee or what, but
I love the smell of coffee, but it tastes like death. And so I've never
I've
never been a coffee drinker.
Add a lot of creamer to mine, and it's just at one point in time I was able to drink a little bit of black coffee, but now it's like no. Gosh. So go ahead and tell our readers where they can find you and your work and follow you.
You can follow me at tahaninelson.com. I am also at facebook.com/thelastfie, or I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all at Tahani Nelson. Anywhere you find me, reach out, send me a DM. I'll happily talk to you about anything you want to know. And then if you have any other questions, I'll definitely answer those too.
Excellent. And I'm going to have all of her links in either if you're watching on social media, the comments, or if you're checking us out on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and it's down in the bottom. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, guys.